Hey, Antonio. Yeah, not sure that he's got the same thing as last week.
Yeah, I had no trouble.
Yeah, I've been setting up stuff a little bit a couple of days ago, hoping to get things stable this time around. Hi, Drachika.
Hello.
Hello.
Larry, you're distorting a little bit. I don't know if you can...
Okay. I don't know how to control the mic volume.
I think there is a settings button at the bottom somewhere.
Okay.
No, you can't change the volume apparently. I think you might go to your system settings or something like that to reduce the microphone volume. Are you on a Mac or on your Windows machine?
PC.
On a PC, yeah. There should be audio settings somewhere where you can reduce the microphone input.
Yeah, I'm trying that. Let's see.
So, how have you all been?
I've been good.
Fine.
Yeah? Hey, Thomas. It's the first time. Seems some people don't have that much luck in getting the video through.
Yeah.
Sound.
Just tweeting about it.
Yes. What's up?
Hello.
Not having much luck.
No. It's always quite frustrating to get this stuff figured out right on the spot.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Well, maybe you can just, if you move the microphone a little bit out of the way, maybe that will do the trick.
How does it sound right now? I found something that says...
It's distorting a little bit, but...
Yeah, I'll try it down a little bit more. Any better?
Yeah, it seems good like that.
Okay. Excellent.
So, what have you guys been up to? Anything cool and interesting? Any questions? Any experiences to share?
Well, I got MIDI out working.
Oh, right. Yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
So that was a major accomplishment, figuring out. I didn't have to add any software on the MacBook. Just finding the right places. And
right. Yeah. On the MacBook, it should be just pretty trivial. It's on Windows that there is some kind of loop B driver that you have to install.
Yeah.
Hey,
no, I decided to. Hi.
So you decided to do it on the Mac instead of on the PC?
Yeah. The Mac is a lot of ways better. Also, you Eigen people spent a lot of time already on that. And I figured, yeah, I'll splurge. I've already spent so much. So
well, to be totally fair, Jim, which is the lead developer, he's developing full time on PC. So I'm two other people developing on Mac, but he's full time on PC. So that's good. So it's not a secondary citizen. We do code for it every day.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. I had known about it, known a few people that had Macs, but I've been on PCs since about 1987.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of cost and number of applications that you could get for PC versus the Mac on certain areas. But I think Mac is superior in music.
Yeah, there's quite some things there that are just easier to get working. It's possible on PC, it's just a little bit easier.
But I'm still fighting with the Mac development system. Xcode doesn't like me.
No, it's we don't really use it actually. Just code in VI.
Yeah, for some things it's easier just to.
Yeah, for the iPhone and the iPad Stage app, we do it in Xcode.
Yeah.
Because that publishes it all. Yeah. So, anything else?
And I got the guitar key layout working this morning.
Right.
And at least I know where the notes are, but of course it doesn't finger the same as the guitar because it's just the way the keys are laid out and the spacing makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, that's why when people have asked me for that quite a few times, they say, "Can I just, if I know the guitar, will I know how to play the Eigenharp?" I say, well, it's totally different. There is this thing about barré chords on a guitar that just, for example, doesn't really translate to the Eigenharp. And I find that is already something that's different.
Oh, definitely. Because your upper register fingers are playing a note, but your bar is also playing a note.
Yes.
And of course, on a guitar, the upper fingers block the lower bar. So that's a different.
You can set a stringer up. So something that you can do in bel canto is when your keyboard is laid out, so what you have is the standard layout has courses going down the rows like this, just following the physical rows. And if you've got if you look at how the cello and clarinet is connected, is that there is a stringer agent in between there that actually knows what the course information is, and then will do stuff that when you so when you play the cello like this, so you just keep. It's like if it's a regular string, right?
That would help.
You only have one note playing on that string, and you can set that up for anything. You just have to put a stringer in the middle, and then it will do that. So, that's something.
Well, maybe you can set it up.
Well, it's not that difficult. You can quite know.
I've studied a lot with bel canto. That is just totally.
Yeah, it's more programmer kind of thing. Well, in 2.0, Workbench is getting very, very close.
That will probably be a big help.
Yes, then you will just be able to pop it in and wire it up.
Yeah, and also, I just don't have a good concept of how all these bits and pieces are there, interact, things like that.
Yeah,
it's still a big black box.
Well, the thing is, it is all documented, but it just takes a long time to grasp. It took me quite some months, even after started working for Eigenlabs, that actually started to make sense to me.
The problem is also it's documented, but what you have documented is the technical stuff and not how it connects together. I know. The thinking about how this process is going, how you came to the process of doing it like this isn't documented, and this is hard to grasp. I mean, okay, there's agents, but how does this play together? Why this and not that? And that's a little bit problematic sometimes. If you never have talked to anybody from Eigenharp, you don't get how this stuff connects together.
Right. Well, there is one page that explains the idea behind agents and what they're for and how to think about them. There's this introduction to EigenD, I'll just paste it in the chat, that has this overview of how you should look at it. The thing is that if we take a long time to explain how a particular setup is connected in between all the different agents, it's a little bit like when you take a modular synth and start explaining how one set of wires is connected up. While Antonio has done this already, I've done it, a number of people have started doing it. Once you start changing those wires, that documentation doesn't work anymore because it's just another setup. So that's where the Workbench will be very handy, because you will just be able to see it. And So it's getting very, very close. I think that we've got a deadline.
Looking forward to it.
A deadline of in a couple of weeks now. So it's almost there.
I also have some technical questions about the actual way the hardware works.
Okay.
Now, my understanding from a review you wrote many months ago is that the basic Eigenharp is beyond MIDI. I mean, like MIDI is like 128, units between bottom and top.
Yes.
And basically, the Eigenharp is like 1024.
Yes.
Okay. And it also samples faster.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, it's also connecting to the computer on USB 2, which is miles faster than MIDI.
It is.
So I guess that's. Okay. So now, when we start talking to the sound producers, which are samplers and audio units, are those basically still MIDI limited?
Yes, most of them are. So that's one of the limitations nowadays. However, there are several ways to get around this. The easiest way with the Eigenharp is to use sound fonts. So there's a whole bunch of sound fonts available on the internet, and that is what you use with the internal sampler engine, right? So that's what the piano, the standard piano, the standard bass, the standard synth pad do. Now, the problem is that sound fonts in general are not as well developed as regular sample-based instruments that are being played through audio units, right? Drahika, can you mute yourself or something, because you're making a whole lot of noise? Thank you. So the thing is, though, that since the Eigenharp is so expressive and has so many degrees of expression, even the most basic of sound fonts start to become alive, which wasn't the case before when people were using sound fonts. So even sounds, I find sometimes from 2004, 2005, when I start playing them on the Eigenharp, it's like, wow, you get something out of it. And then you can start getting even more creative with that, because you can put inline effects after the sampler, which can then be audio units or VSTs, where you can then even further customize this sound. So that's one step. The second step that you could do is this kind of a trick that people have been doing that were using MIDI guitars, which is, instead of having one MIDI channel for an entire guitar, each string was a guitar is sending out over a separate MIDI channel, which means that you get 6 individual sounds that can be played, and also 6 individual pitch bends and aftertouch and polyphonic aftertouch, right? Which means that you can use the resolution of MIDI. So pitch bend is a very high resolution in MIDI, but it's normally global for all the notes in the channel. But if you set the audio unit in the router, if you see, just open it here. So I'm just putting this on the screen on live stream so that people that are following. So if you've got this routing matrix and you go to the settings in the top left, then you've got MIDI settings where you can send pitch bend, and then you've got the active MIDI channel where you can go from 1 all the way down to poly mode. And when you go to poly mode, what it will do is, it will basically do what I explained with the MIDI guitar. It will take the minimum and the maximum MIDI channel, and when you start playing several notes together, it will pick a new MIDI channel, so that let's say that you've got a minimum channel of 1 and a maximum channel of 4. The first note you play will be played on channel 1, right? The second note you play, if it's not being played at the same time as the first note, will also be sent on channel 1. So let me just explain. It's maybe easier if I play something. So this is sent on channel 1, right?
Okay.
This is also sent on channel 1 because there is no other note going on at the same time. right?
Gotcha.
However, if I play this one and then play a second one, this is sent on channel 2, meaning that I've got pitch bend going on independently for that node than for that node, right?
Good.
And that is going over an audio unit, so that is using contact. So what it does is it sets up a minimum and a so in the routing matrix you select a minimum channel and a maximum channel, and it will start selecting the next freely available one as long as you play nodes together at the same time. So up to a maximum of 16 if your maximum MIDI channel is 16 and the minimum is 1. If, however, they are all being used already, then it will start back from the beginning and will send out nodes on a channel that is already being used. So
I don't have 16 fingers.
It's a bit difficult. But on the other hand, there was a lot of sounds that even on my iMac, if I have Native Instruments Reactor running, for example, sometimes I can't have things that more than 4 at the same time. It just kills my machine. So so it's kind of a trade-off of how much processing power you want to use, and how much independent control do you want to have over the nodes. So that's one way also of actually bypassing that limitation of MIDI and still being able to send out pitch bend at very high resolution. And then you can go a step further, and that is use 14-bit MIDI CC messages. So instead of using the standard 7-bit, which goes to the 128, you can use 14-bit messages, and that's again in the routing matrix.
I found that.
Right. So you
found that setting. Yeah.
Right. So if you go on that, and the problem is that you need to find software that supports it, which is not always easy. They don't all. There's just a few of them that do that.
Does Native Instruments do that?
I think Reactor does.
Reactor. Okay. I don't have that yet.
Sure.
I've been looking at Complete 8.
Yeah, you should definitely get that. It's
and I can get it now for like $450, and I'm looking seriously at that. There's a lot in it.
Yeah, Drachika, we've been talking about that on Twitter, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cheap for me now because the euro, or let's say, the Swiss franc is high and the rest is low, so it would be pretty cheap for me now.
Right. Yeah, I ordered the upgrade also, but it didn't go with the. We've got 2 versions. There's this ultimate version and the regular version. I went with the regular one. Not much need for what's inside the ultimate version. But I've been upgraded.
I think the regular is huge enough. Yeah. And I got a Sonic Culture thing called Morpheus, and that will run in Contact 5. But of course, I don't have Contact 5 yet. I'm just running it on my Ableton.
Right.
As an Ableton unit. It's pretty interesting bunch of instruments. They had it on sale too.
Sonic Couture, right? Who makes this?
Yeah, Sonic Couture. Yeah, it's a Morpheus. It's
You like it?
Kind of a strange.
I've been looking at it. It's.
I like it though. There's a tremendous range of sounds it makes.
Yeah. Tremendous
range. More than you think. Just looking at those kind of xylophone things that it started with. But it has a huge range of sounds you can make with it.
Right.
Very interesting, I think.
Yeah, I've been playing with the Glassworks stuff that they sell, and also the pan drums, which I found particularly interesting.
Yeah, I like both of those. I haven't got them yet, but they looked interesting too.
Yeah.
And I guess those are all run in Contact?
Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, okay. The Mac, yeah.
This is something I was still meaning to document. See all the little pretty lights?
Yes, I saw that on another place.
Just love how they sampled these pan drums. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Plus, I like all the lights.
Yeah, I had this idea of setting this up instead of thinking of strings or physical things that you work with. There's more areas. So this is an area of like when you've got these pan drums, you've got these circular areas where you actually hit. It's as if it would be one circular area with a sound that's more toward the edge, then more to the inside. And the same for this. So the colors actually delimit the different areas. And it's a lot of fun to play because you can just give this to someone. That. Yeah, we give this to someone just for a demo or something, and they instantly just start doing stuff on it. Yeah.
That is very nice.
Still meaning on documenting that. There's just so much stuff to do.
I mean, that's a real good transition from the original, very hands-on, touchy-feely instrument of the hang drum.
Yes.
To the Eigenharp, and it still gives you some of that control of the way you hit it.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I like.
I just like the way that you can do. Just with this is one area of one sound. And don't think about it, just hit it.
That's why you play the real one.
Yes. Have you ever played one?
Right. Not yet. I'll show you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, you've got one.
Well, that's a tongue drum.
Tongue drum, yeah.
It's the $300 version of a hang drum, which is really nice because it's they used to start making these out of just LP gas cylinders from the barbecue,
yes,
and they cut holes in them. Well, this guy went a few bits further, and he made it completely from scratch. And also, beautiful. One of the problems with even the expensive hang drum is it has troubles with keeping in tune.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy has invented a thing where he has these real strong little tiny magnets on the inside,
right,
which allow you to adjust if it goes out of tune.
Huh.
Probably can't hear it very well on this microphone. But it's a really nice, fun instrument, and it doesn't cost $2,000 or $3,000.
Right, yeah, the other one is...
It's actually made by a guy in Mississippi that runs a laundromat. He does this beautiful thing.
He cuts up his old laundry machines and makes instruments out of them.
Well, he actually found a steel, and he purchases big sheets of it from a manufacturer, and then he has somebody else stamp them and do the basic molding, and he does the actual tongue cutting and fine-tuning. And he also does the artwork on it, which you can get anything. I decided to go with this. You get any color, any design. You can make your own up. And,
is this one you had made, or is it one that comes standard?
No, this is one I had made. The tunings are standard, but you can put any decorations on it you want. I decided to go with Cocapelli here.
Ah, it's beautiful.
And this has got little markings on the top, so you can see where the tongues are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It plays real nice. It's a lot of fun. And you can keep it in tune if you need to. Well, it does a pretty good job of staying that way, but that's one thing that he did.
Yeah, I think that funnily enough, let me just see. Yeah. They put out a new version of the pan drums not that long ago, where they actually added the tongue drum. Have you seen that? I'm just pasting it in the chat.
Okay, no.
If you just scroll down,
kept up with all that.
And they've got a halos, the hang, and then the tongue drums that are all part of that sampler instrument now.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's in Sonic Couture?
Yes.
Their instrument pack, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
once I get contact.
Actually.
Yeah, it's has probably to do with the MIDI stuff and the AU stuff. I had some drums in Omnisphere, and I played them as AU audio units, and then I had some kind of this cracking you get when the values go out on the go out of things of range. And I couldn't fix this in audio unit in any way, because I mean, I put everything down. I had this guy who has more experience than me helping, and we put everything down, we muted and so on, and I couldn't fix it, and now I put it through MIDI. So I have Omnisphere, but I control it with MIDI nodes and not directly over AU, and now it's gone. So could that be? Is it possible that audio unit maybe gives Omnisphere a little bit too much information? And
so there is one thing that is definitely happening is when you run it as an audio unit, you do give it standard a lot more information than when you send it out over MIDI. So there is something, if you go to the settings of an audio unit, in the routing matrix at the top left, there is minimum data decimation settings, which is by default, I think, for an audio unit set to 0 milliseconds, while for MIDI it's set to 10 milliseconds because hardware MIDI is not able to cope with it otherwise. But this means that it sends out 10 times, at least 10 times more data, even when sending MIDI through the audio unit than when sending MIDI over an external MIDI port. However, by just putting up that value, then you get to the same thing actually.
Okay, I'll try this next, because this could be that it really. I wasn't sure if it's more if it given more information or higher numbers, or if it's just giving it too much, and it looked like it's given too much. So I will try that.
Well, there are two things that can be happening. Either it's trying, to work with too much information over a certain period of time, and just not being able to keep up because there are too many channels, or it needs to load too many samples based on the speed of the hard drive or something like that. Could be that why it's crackling. Other reason why it's could be crackling is that if you go to the audio settings, there is a buffer size there, and the buffer size is by default 512. It might be that if you send it over MIDI, that you're running it somewhere where you gave it a higher buffer size, which means that it's got more time to calculate stuff, right? So you might try to put that higher, or check if you didn't accidentally put it lower than 512.
No, it's not. We checked that. That was the first thing we checked.
And then what you can also have happening is that it is not crackling from little gaps in the audio generation, but more from volume that distorts. That could also be the case.
Yeah, that's also we tried to put that down. So we made sure that it's not the problem of wrong values in Omnisphere, right, or something like this.
A good way to check that is to use Stage and to see what the volume is for that particular audio unit in Stage, because then you've got this nice, easy to use mixer that gives you the overview of all your mixer channels. Don't know if you've ever used that, but there's this overview. The first tab on Stage gives you, an overview of the mixer settings of each channel in Eigenharp.
Like this?
Yes. Yes, Antonio shows it to you on his iPad.
Hi everybody, sorry.
Hey Antonio.
Again, lots of troubles configuring. And this time it was Eigenharp that break down the audio, I don't know.
Really?
Can you hear
that never happens.
yeah, but it did this time. Yeah, can you hear it?
Yes, I can hear it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So keep it on.
So what have you been doing? Something interesting?
Yeah, I still practicing with 5 fingers on my right hand. Something you Gert have been doing, yeah. So
Is that a particular scale that you're working in, trying to...
Staying on the chromatic.
Yeah.
It's chromatic.
Yeah, I've still been limiting myself to the major scale on the chromatic. I've not went any further than that.
I just love at least the challenge that has to all the notes. I can phrase very differently, then put it on major. Oops.
It sounds really nice. What kind of piano are you using there?
Yeah, I was going to tell you that I love this approach from virtual acoustic and virtual synthesis, not only sampling. This is
real piano?
Mozart. No, it's the CP80 from Piano Tech.
Oh, right.
Mozart's Piano Tech. I got this from like 3 months ago or something, and I starting to like it very much.
It sounds nice.
This is the CP80. But there are many different pianos and stuff like that.
So that you run that as an audio unit?
Yeah, it's an audio unit.
I've seen that. I've been trying that out.
Piano Tech
Play.
Yeah, it's a good plugin.
I'm gonna try it out.
And not very expensive. I think there are a couple of versions. One more expensive. This is not. Pianos also.
Could you post that on Twitter?
Yeah, sure.
You can put it in the chat.
I'd like to see
to
that.
the left side.
Yeah.
Just paste it URL. I'm hearing myself. Do you guys have that also?
Big echo. Yes.
I'm this time on the main desk over here, but not.
Maybe
not
I'm hearing
very
myself
good.
over your main desk.
Yeah, maybe. I'm returning the signal back.
Test.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's gone now. So I was working on together with my girlfriend who sings on a new song, and one of the things that came up was how to write down what the fingerings I found on the Eigenharp. Have you guys ever started looking into that?
No.
It's and you, Antonio, have you ever started looking into that?
Sorry, I was not accompanying you.
You know how to write down what you're playing on the Eigenharp?
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. Was thinking also, but no. I read music from 4 or 5 years, but I'm trying to be more like you guys, guitarists. who don't read music but play very well, just looking at the instruments. I don't know, and I'm trying just like that. Of course, I know the notes I'm playing, but yeah. Sometimes it's necessary to write it down so we can 2 or 3 years later we know what we are doing. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's a challenge. I can read notes also, by the way. I did full music studies, so that's not the real problem for me. But it's more like, it's exactly like on a guitar. It's like you've got so many options of fingering something. It's which option do you take, right? And it usually bleeds into the way you phrase and bleeds into how things sound when you're playing it. It's not on the piano. You only have one choice. You only have one key for one note. On the Eigenharp, most of the times you have more. But even so, if you use one of these setups that don't have any note duplication, is what do you play with which hand and stuff like that. It can be sometimes tricky to figure out. You have to think about it afterwards if you want to play it again. So
that's why they have tablature for guitar.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem with that tablature is that it relies on the fact that you're working with strings.
Exactly. And a certain tuning.
And the tune, you can change the tuning in the software that does the notation software. You can change the tuning between the strings, but it's still always considered a string as linear thing that goes across. But let's say that you work with multiple splits, or that you work with this chromatic setup that I created doesn't work with tablature. So yeah.
Yeah, you have also. There is this problem of time. You have you not only have pretty much a 2D board where you play with two hands, which you can manage, but it's also how are the notes connected, and then it gets three-dimensional. And I had this problem too, only on the Pico, where it's actually manageable because you have only a small amount of keys, but it's really, I also had to struggle to find a way to say, okay, now it's going this way or that way.
Antonio, can you try muting yourself just to see, because I can hear Drahika also with an echo.
Yeah.
Just seeing if it's
I'm muting, but I'm listening from you guys.
Just test.
It's gone.
Now the echo is gone, yeah. So it's something that happens on your end. I know it's back.
It's me?
Yes, I think so.
Maybe.
Test. Yeah, it's gone. So. Well, it's a good tool to measure latency. Yeah. No, I've got echo again.
Yeah, well, then it's me.
Anyway. So the question is, what is important of noting down? On the guitar, there is this thing of with which finger. I think on the piano you also have notation for that. With which finger do you play a particular note? I think that is solved. People, you've got this P, I, M, what's it again, R, and something else that indicate with which finger you're actually playing. So that's something that already exists. But one thing that I found very frustrating always on the guitar is tablature works well when you're like in the first 6 to 7 frets. But once you go above the 7th fret, then you start counting. Because it's like, okay, I have to play this on fret 10 and then this on fret 14. And once you go above 7, it's almost impossible to instantly look at number 10. So you start doing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, this is where I have to play. And you have to do that for each note on the tablature, which I always found extremely frustrating.
I mean, you at least have the notches down on the Eigenharp. I had to find some notes reliably at the practice we did Saturday, Sunday. And I trained myself on having the thumb in the notch and knowing where the other finger has to go.
Right.
And then from there I can go on, because it's somehow 7 notes down where I have to be, and I couldn't count it. So I started to really, this is something I will have to practice. I started really to have, thumb finger relation because of with the notches, and not having to count down, because that wouldn't be fast enough.
There is one problem with the notches, though, is that when you start sweating and you're playing in the dark, it's very difficult to keep. When I did a couple of gigs, I find it very difficult to be correct with them.
The other problem is I don't use the harness, so to use the notches and to use the strip controller, I have to, when I sit down, hold the Eigenharp in a very special way, because I have to have it on my thigh, because else I don't have A, both hands free, and B, can't get to the notches and can't get to the strip controller.
Right.
So it's a little bit of adjusting, of trying to find out how to hold it so that I really can use the notches.
Right. Yeah, I started first also with putting my thumb here, right, on the notches. But now I'm playing a lot like Antonio does, with 5 fingers on the right hand.
Yeah.
I have my thumb stays here to keep the Eigenharp in balance, but this hand usually moves freely on the keyboard. So then you lose also the reference of the notches. But I think they're still a good indicator, because when you work with notation and tablature, it's not really about performance, but it's more about education, more about how to know how to play something. What I was thinking is to work with a 3-axis coordinate system, which splits the Eigenharp up in the way it is actually naturally divided. Since you've got the notches here, and each Eigenharp has been constructed to actually have naturally these 4 fingers that are always grouped together, right? So you're going up like this all the time. So this is actually a natural subdivision, and then you've got the row, and then you've got a column inside the row. So I was thinking this is actually a 3-coordinate system, which is 1, which is the square in which you're in, which is the same on the pico also, except it's a rectangle where you've got just 4 here and 2 rows. And then you indicate the row in which you are, which is 2 on the pico, but it's 5 on the alpha and 4 on the tau. And then which key inside the row, which is only from 1 to 4. But I still have to try it out. I was thinking about that yesterday, and tonight I couldn't sleep about it. And I was like, it seems to me that when you see these 3 things, it would be easier to find your position. Instead of having, number 17, where you have to go like, okay, 1, 2, so this is 4, 8, 17. You would be like 4, 2. Okay, I'm in 4, and that's right, or something like that. Which seems quicker.
Yeah, I think.
Also.
Sorry, John Nolan, I think, could give a great help. He's come up with that Eigenharp.
I've been playing around with it.
Yeah, me too. And I think he's done a good job.
It's great.
Grasping these ideas. Yeah.
But the thing is, it still uses standard tablature notation.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure that it's appropriate for the Eigenharp or not. Maybe it is, maybe not. It certainly breaks down when you don't work with courses that go along the rows. Then it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Also, I was thinking about a way of let's say when you work with different splits, where you actually would be playing something here at the bottom, but at the same time play something here, as if you would be playing 2 instruments. Let me see what I've set up here. So if I've got 1 instrument at the bottom and you play a score and you want to notate a score would be nice if you could write this on one score instead of starting to split it out, so that you can clearly see what you play at the same time. Physically on the keyboard, instead of having this being offset here and just a one. I don't know. I was thinking about all that.
Yeah, probably you should have like in piano, right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, so that you have it over each other.
Right.
And I think your idea is pretty good. And since we have actual lights on the alpha, you can use that to at least have an indicator where you are.
One thing, big warning. These lights, when you're standing on stage, with the stage lighting, you can't see them.
Yeah, they fade away pretty fast.
Yes. It was a big shock the first time that happened to me. It was like, oh god, I don't see my reference anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was looking into ways of actually using existing notation software. If we use a standard tab approach, it seems to be pretty easy because they all allow you to redefine what the strings are and what their offset is and stuff like that. But if you work with a layout that doesn't follow strings across the neck, then there is actually nothing that actually allows you to use a tablature notation because they all rely on strings. So one thing that I found was there is something that is also being used by guitar players, which indicates above the regular notes which string you are playing that note on, and it's being noted inside the little circle as a number. And it seems that could be used above standard notation if we have this coordinate system with 3 axes to indicate precisely where on the Eigenharp you play the note that's underneath it. You see what I mean? So let's say that you've got a G3 somewhere on a staff, and then above that you would have a little circle with 2, 3, 1 or something like that, which means the second rectangle, third row, the first key on the row, something like that. Anyway, it was just
might work.
Thinking about stuff. So you've never written anything down for the Eigenharp, Antonio? Except standard notation?
Yeah. Just ideas, but I never wrote nothing. Just feeling, I just kept so deeply with what I was doing. I don't even play piano no more. That's so deep, the cut.
Right.
So yeah, I just love this new approach so much that I was feeling as a composer also that I need to change. The other day I was listening to Larry saying that in the Eigenharp it's fantastic for this cut to happen. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I find that I'm almost not playing the guitar anymore either, unless for existing stuff. When I have to do a gig, then we just play the guitar, stuff I already know. But
of course.
Very rarely still pick up the guitar to just do something. It will be the Eigenharp now.
That's good.
Yes. So have you guys seen that we did a new release on Friday?
Yeah. Just trying it out. I think it's marvelous. No more bugs, I think, on the stage.
Yeah, we will spend a long time on getting all those things that you reported out of the way. Hopefully it's all fixed now.
Nice.
This is 1.3.27 testing?
Yes.
Okay.
But there is also 1.4.3 experimental if you want to, which is what I always use. I use the 1.4 branch.
Astonishingly, the experimental ones are more stable on my computer than the other ones.
Well, the experimental one has got a lot of performance optimizations in there. So on some computers it might make a big difference. On my MacBook Pro, I'm not able to use the microphone with the testing version, but with the experimental version, I can put vocoders on it, whatever I want, and it just works. So there's quite some optimizations there. But we might probably, if everything goes right, in in a week or so, that 1.3 finally becomes stable. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I figure I have enough to learn without worrying about whether it's the software or whether it's me.
Yeah, well, that will never go away. I think it can always be either the software, the operating system, a bug in the plugin. I will never remember something that happened to me with Guitar Rig, because I use a virtual software setup for my guitar sounds also, and I was relying on a MIDI pedal to send out program change messages to switch to the next guitar sound with Guitar Rig that was just running inside of Baijual standalone. And I just upgraded to a minor version. It was like 0.6 to 0.7 or something like that. Really minor thing, just bug fixes. But what they changed was that if the GUI window is not open, then it will not remember which category of sounds you're in. So it will just, instead of having, so I had my sounds, which was flight case sounds with 20 somewhat like sounds. But if the GUI window was not open, it would not use that category, but it would use all the sounds that it knew of. So instead of going, one being my first sound, would be the one somewhere, something random. So all my program change messages were just wrong, just by going to a minor upgrade. And that kind of got me very, very wary about that stuff. So my performance machine is very slow moving. It's every time I change the slightest little piece of software, which is any kind of plugin, I always make a full backup, and then I just upgrade and I test. And before going live, I'll at least test for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I had that happen with a guitar synthesizer. I was playing for my daughter's wedding, and one part I was going to do on the guitar synthesizer, the other one I was going to do just kind of a standard guitar sound. And I practiced and practiced and practiced, and I get to the actual wedding, walking in and stuff, and my synthesizer starts to make sounds all on its own.
Magic.
Panic. How do I get this thing back to something I can control? But it was kind of embarrassing.
Well, that's where you've got the panic button on some synthesizers.
That's right. That's straight acoustic. Yes. Right. Where did that come from? Help! And I was solo, so there's nobody else to cover for me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm preparing
playing
jokes.
in the band. It's just all of a sudden no sound because those program changes were not correct. I'm like, oh no, in the middle of a concert. Yes.
Yeah, I'm preparing jokes and taking my ukulele, which I can't play with me, because if I have to restart Eigen on the stage, it will be a little bit of a wait for the people.
That's true. Yeah, it's gotten better. But, in version 2.0, there's a lot of changes there. We're actually going to redo all the setups, and that will dramatically reduce loading time. It's too much duplication there, way too much. So
Can I ask you, can we actually do our own setups?
Sure.
Haven't I just found it? How do we do our own setups? Is there a...
It's a blank setup. If you open Eigen,
so
you start from a blank setup, and then something you can do, for example, is just for fun, just sine oscillator create, and then sine oscillator. I think sine oscillator is just a documentation output to audio write input connect, for example, and then you will get sine oscillator sound, and then you've got.
Can you say that again, please? Sine oscillator.
Let me just look up in the wiki before I say something stupid. Documentation wiki. So there's sine oscillator, sawtooth oscillator, and triangle oscillator. So sine oscillator, audio. So first sine oscillator create.
Yeah, that I have.
And then sine oscillator 1, audio output 2, audio, which is audio output. Right input to connect, for example. And then you will get sine oscillator playing.
Okay, I will try that.
And then you can disconnect it again, unconnect, and then put something else in between and reconnect stuff and experiment with these things. It's quite a lot of fun to experiment with that.
Yeah, I've started to do that stuff in JavaScript, this JavaScript, which was on the forum.
Yes.
And I have something that's called NV-alt, like notational velocity alt, and they have a preview window. So I can put the JavaScript in the edit window, and the preview window shows me automatically what it's doing. It's like JavaScript updated. And then I can just press the buttons and look if it's happening or not. And if it's not doing what I want to, I can always have this control group of my metronome on button to see if I've done something really stupid. And so I can more or less, I've started to do my setups in Bel Canto. So every button there is one thing going on and I can test it.
Cool.
And it's updating. Normally I can write, and maybe I can...
so one thing you have to be aware of, though, is so in between stable and testing releases, if you use factory setups, we will upgrade them automatically, right? If there are some changes to how the inputs and the outputs of an agent work. However, we can't do that if you start creating random connections, because we don't know what you mean, right? We don't know what it's supposed to do. You might want to create something that is particular weird, strange sound, right? It might be what you want to do. So, but which means that if you start connecting stuff up yourself, the actual signature of the setup, that we calculate that dynamically, changes, and we see that it's a setup that's not supported, and it will not be automatically upgraded. It's just so that you're aware of that, is that it will not be automatically get any bug fixes that would be related to the setup. Let's say, for example, if we found something like that in the Tau setup, that for some kind of reason the percussion keys were wrongly connected to the MIDI output. Well, we can upgrade that if it's a factory setup without any connections that have been remade. But it could be that you in your setup wanted to unconnect that MIDI, those percussion keys from MIDI output, and connect it to, I don't know what, to the velocity of an audio unit somewhere at the same time as something else. So we can't make that decision at that time because you changed the connections. It's just that you're aware of that. It's the same thing for setups that you build from scratch. We will not upgrade them.
Okay.
Okay. Well, this hour went by very quickly.
Yes.
I'm going to sign off because people are starting to get home from work.
One question.
Sure. Yeah.
Approximately, how many Eigenharps are out in the world? I mean, I feel like with these here and on Twitter and stuff, there's like 10 of us or something. How many are actually playing with it? I know it's probably private, but just a real rough number.
Yeah.
A couple of hundred, I think. A couple of hundred. No, a couple of hundred. There's
couple of hundred.
I don't know the recent numbers, but it's I think close or even more than 1,000 picos and much more alphas than we anticipated. I think it's like several tens of alphas, and it must be 20 or 30 or maybe 40 even. I can't keep up with it. And we had a tau production problem at some point, so there are not that many taus sold, but they're going away very quickly now because they're all ready now. So. Must be also 20 or 30 taus now or something like that.
Yeah, the tau makes some sense from a price standpoint. It seems like it's almost as functional as the alpha, but the alpha is just so pretty.
Honestly, I was very reluctant about a tau when I read about it, when I never saw it before. And just last week, I got one myself to test everything with. And I'm actually amazed at how nice it feels. It's less than half of the weight of the alpha, so it's very light. It's very thin also, so you can just hang it. It's light enough and thin enough that you can hang it off the strap from your neck. It doesn't hurt you, and it feels very natural to play it like that, which is it's quite nice. It's quite a nice feeling. It's different from the alpha actually. In that regard, it's you kind of have to work out for the alpha. The alpha is like a Gibson, right? It's when you've carried the alpha for 2 hours. I had a workout, just like with a Gibson. It's about the same weight. While the tau feels more like an acoustic guitar. It's not even electric, more like an acoustic. It's like, okay, this is light. I can stand like this all day long and I will not feel it. So that's quite nice.
That's good. Yeah, like I said, I just kind of like the wood look of the alpha, and I'm just a sucker for pretty hand-built looking wood instruments.
Ditto, same here.
Absolutely.
I have two Olsen guitars just because of that. I mean, not that they aren't beautiful sounding guitars, but they're just so pretty, and so the workmanship is so incredible that I just had to have two.
Cool. Yeah, so there's more Eigenharps out there than it seems. It's quite a bit more.
I mentioned
I'm
before
quite surprised that we're 4 people hanging out and discussing this. It would be very difficult to do this actually for other instruments and get more people, because people are generally busy. And same thing on Twitter. It's talking about guitar or stuff like that. You will get some replies with people that say anything meaningful. It's not that many out there. So
just us unmeaningful people.
Well, there are a lot of people that buy guitars and never actually play them.
Must be, because I'm amazed when I go into a guitar store around here. I mean, who buys all these things? I mean, they have thousands in one store.
Right, and then you can imagine how many stores there are.
Yeah, well, just here in Austin, we have 2 guitar centers, and both of them, like I said, have thousands of guitars hanging on the walls, electric, acoustic, all that stuff. And I go, I mean, who buys all this stuff? It's just hard to figure.
Right. Yeah, well, people like musical instruments. It's okay.
And I'm looking forward to the Eigenharp getting more popular, but I think one thing is that because it's so expensive and so unusual, that most people don't want to do what some of us have done and go ahead and invest in it when it's so unknown and so forth. If they had a chance to get their hands on it and actually use it, I think there'd be a lot more people that would want to own one.
Right, but it's a chicken and egg problem. We've been trying to get into retail stores, but the big problem is that we had it in some retail stores, but the staff of the stores were never actually competent to demonstrate the Eigenharp. So it would just sit there, and people would say, "Oh, it looks pretty, but what does it do?" And then we don't know. So that doesn't really help, right? It's,
I think we have a mission there to demonstrate.
That's when I get better at it. that's one of the things I would like to talk about doing is being a demonstrator, not a salesman, but a demonstrator.
Yeah.
So more people could, see it, get hands-on. Because once you actually feel how nice those keys are and work, you're kind of hooked.
Yeah, I've done a few share of this around here in Portugal. I've demonstrated. Neil asked me a couple of times to show it off to some musicians, and not all musicians. Some architects, some painters also. I got a painter here in my studio, and they just get amazed for what they see. I don't think it's an expensive instrument. I don't think it's difficult to learn. It's just decisions we have to make.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know if you've seen that Roger Lynn and who's the other guy again, an analog synth guy.
Yeah. I have accompanied.
Yeah, it's all your
Dave
videos.
Smith or something like that. They're making this drum machine, the Tempest drum machine that is coming out, right? And that was posted on Create Digital Music. It looks totally awesome. Looks very nice. It's bloody drum machine, $2,000.
Yeah.
That's almost the price of a towel. And you've got what? It's 16 pads.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Eigenharp is expensive actually. The Pico is a total steal in my opinion. If you compare that to anything else that's out there, and the Tau also, and the Alpha is
especially the Tau.
Yeah.
Especially the Tau, because the Alpha is almost double.
Yeah, the Pico is actually cheap. I always tell people, look, what do you want? I mean, it's to test it out. The Pico is really, it's not expensive. There's a lot more expensive stuff out there, and people buy it anyway.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, well, see you guys next week, or on the forums, or on Twitter. This was fun.
Keep learning.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.